Yeah.
All right.
Ding
Now,
dong.
ding dong. And then we bring this back up.
Okay.
Great.
I'm ready to go?
Sure. Let's.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
here comes Dr. Ed. Okay.
Okay. Hi. Hi, Ed. Okay. Thus says the eternal God, when I have gathered the house of Israel from the peoples among whom they have been scattered, and have made manifest my holiness there in the sight of the nations, they shall dwell on their own soil, which I gave to my servant Jacob. They shall dwell on it in safety and build houses and plant vineyards. When I execute judgments on all the surrounding peoples who have shown them contempt, they shall dwell in safety, and they shall know that I, the Eternal, am their God. On the 12th day of the 10th month of the 10th year, the word of the Eternal came to me, saying, Mortal, set your face against Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and prophesy against him and against all Egypt. Speak these words, thus say the Eternal God, Behold, I am against you, Pharaoh, king of Egypt. You are like the great crocodile crouching in its river branches, thinking my river is mine. I made it for myself.
Okay, hang on. Sorry.
It's okay. I have patience.
Here it goes. Thanks.
I will put hooks through your jaws and make the fish of your streams stick to your scales. I will pull you up out of your river branches with all the fish of your river branches sticking to your scales. I will throw you out into the wilderness, you and all the fish of your river branches. You shall fall on dry ground, ungathered and unburied. I have given you as food to the beasts of the earth and the birds of the sky. Then all who dwell in Egypt shall know that I am the Eternal, for you were a staff of reed to the house of Israel. When they took hold of you, you splintered, cutting their palms. When they learned on you, you broke, rattling all their bones. Therefore, thus says the Eternal God, Behold, I will bring a sword upon you and deprive you of people and beasts, because you thought, the river is mine, I made it. Egypt will be a desolation, a ruin, and they shall know that I am the Eternal. Therefore, I am against you and your streams. I will make of the land of Egypt an utterly ruined desolation, from Migdal to Aswan, all the way to
I'm sorry. All right, I'm getting the hang of it.
the border of Cush. No human foot shall pass through it, no animal foot shall pass through it. It shall be uninhibited for 40 years. I will make Egypt a desolation surpassing other desolate lands. Her cities will lie desolate for 40 years, suppressing other ruined cities. I will scatter the Egyptians among the nations and disperse them among the countries. For thus says the eternal God, at the end of 40 years, I will gather the Egyptians from the peoples among whom they were scattered, and I will restore Egypt's fortunes and let them return to the land they came from, the land of Pathos. There they shall be a lovely kingdom, the loveliest of all the kingdoms, one that no longer exalts itself among the nations. I will make them too few ever again to rule other nations. Never again shall Egypt be the reliance of the house of Israel. It shall be a reminder of the wrong they did by turning to it. Then they shall know that I am the eternal God. On the first day of the first month of the 27th year, the word of the Eternal came to me, saying, Mortal, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, has made his army work so hard in a war against Tyre that all the heads were made bald and all their shoulders rubbed bare. But neither he nor his army got any reward from Tyre for all this hard labor against it. Therefore, says the eternal God, I am giving Nebuchadnezzar, king of, where am I? King of, okay, Babylon, the land of Egypt. He shall carry off its wealth, despoil it, and plunder it. It shall be his army wages. As his reward for which he labored, I'm giving him the land of Egypt for what they have done for me. says the eternal God. On that day, I will make the house of Israel strong, and I will give you courage to speak in their midst. Then they shall know that I am the eternal.
I believe that is it.
Yes. That's really great. Now, this is very interesting to me. I want to understand something right here.
Yep.
He's saying all this before what we read in the Torah about the whole Exodus. Is this before?
No, this is after. This is
Okay.
So this is kind of
Oh, it's kind of like it's giving like a wrap of what had happened. I see. Okay, I
That's right.
understand
It
now.
ties it, yeah, because it ties into it. It's talking about the river.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, what I thought for a minute, because he was talking about it like it's going to happen, I thought that, gee, did this all he mentioned before? Like he had prophesied this. That's what I was trying to say.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was just in my mind. I know it was probably wrong, but my mind thinks different than other people's. I have to be honest. I have a different, when I read something, and I've learned this about myself, I have a different comprehension than other people do when they read something. And I thought that I was dyslexic or something, but it's just, I kind of see things differently. I don't understand it, but I do. And I have to have things explained to me again because they said, no, that's not what it said. But sometimes I see something that other people
Well,
don't
Ruth,
see.
you
Yeah.
have a scientific ability to read. For instance, when I had to read science, to read 5 pages of science could
Yeah.
take me 2 hours. To read 5 pages of fiction takes me 5 minutes.
I
So
see.
so you have a scientific mind, and that's
I
what
know.
it is, because
I know.
I have to understand not only every word in science, but how they relate to each other to get the clear understanding of the scientific meaning of what they're saying. So
Yeah,
you're
well,
not alone.
I understand that to some extent, but I'm not really a scientist. But I understand where you're coming from. I do.
I
I do.
I could send you one of my papers that I've written a number of years ago, and it would take you all day to read it. But
Yeah.
I could send you a pamphlet of a short story, and you'd go, "Bink." So wait till you read a short story. Think about that.
Okay. I was just talking in general, not
Yeah.
scientific, but I understand where you're coming from. Yeah,
Yeah,
I do.
but this is science. This is in
Yeah,
essence. This
yeah,
is in essence. God spoke to Moses and said to him, "I am the eternal. I appeared to Abraham and Isaac." All of
right,
this, all of this is my name is Adonai. I mean,
right,
this is tough stuff. Whole books have been read about one pasha. Whole
right,
books.
I
right,
know.
right. I do understand that. Yes, and I do love to pull apart things at times too. But I was thinking about my comprehension of what I just read seems to
Mhm.
be a lot different than what other people see. That
I
was
don't know
all I
what the
was
hell
saying.
you read.
What'd you say?
He doesn't know what the hell you read.
Oh, you don't know.
But
No, so
Yeah,
that
but
was
Ruth,
Ezekiel.
that
Yeah.
that but that's like saying that the optimist sees the glass, says the glass is
Yeah,
half
right,
full. The
right. You're right.
pessimist says it's
That's
half empty. The
yeah, right.
optometrist says you both need glasses.
it's not that I didn't understand what you read. The meaning of what you read could be so complicated what you
I
read.
know. I
I
know.
know.
You're right. You're right. You're right. You're
So you're not alone. You're just smart.
Right, and
right.
that was a
That's
message
nice.
to the Israelites who were taken captive in Babylon, and how
Right.
Egypt was supposed to help them before they got into Babylon. They didn't help them, and so God had some wrath against Egypt. But anyway, so that's a recurring story, right? It's like
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
Israel goes into the promised land, they get taken out of the promised land. They go into the promised land, they get taken out of the promised land. So,
Mm.
But there's
and
the connection too
1948.
about the river, like you owning the river. Because like how the Egyptians didn't they like practically worship the river? I mean, and then when it
Yeah.
turned like
No,
to
no,
what
that's
they
true. I
thought,
mean, in those
blood.
days, it was always objects that they were worshiping. They weren't worshiping God. They were worshiping the sun. They were worshiping idols. They were worshiping all
So
these.
when they changed, when the color of the Nile changed and it looked, what they thought is blood,
Yeah.
they went crazy. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's the connection to the
Yeah.
Haftarah.
Someone should write a book about this stuff.
We should. We should put out the volume of Underground. Put our
Right,
incredible thoughts and perceptions out there for the world to share. We can enlighten or
They
make
should write a book
sugar,
about-
however you look at it.
They should write a book about the last 30 Christmases in Malden too, and what happened.
Well,
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Ruth Nega,
Yeah.
you should have seen Mike Bodo and Gary Gillette
Oh
at 4
man.
o'clock in the morning. You
Yeah, I
should
heard
have
they were
seen them.
terrific.
Annie was
Gary-
there too.
Gary, a number of non-Jewish people came up to me and said, "What's he saying? What's he singing?" And I explained to him that it's the Jewish Sabbath, and we are celebrating the Jewish Sabbath, even though
Even though it's Christmas.
It's Christmas.
Yeah, and
It's
Dr.
hard.
Ed, and you and I
Working.
got to sing. You and I got to sing Shalom Rav together. That was a highlight of highlights.
and I had a little bit
Nice.
of time, but Mike,
Yeah.
my, today I feel a little better. At the end of this marathon, it takes 2 days because I was
I'm
pretty.
sure you're wiped out completely.
I am wiped out, and I'm going to be 70 next year, and I'm feeling it this time.
Oh wow.
Every year,
I'm going to tell you that there's a lot of discussion about people different ages from 70 and up, because there's a picture of both, Bunny and Sam on Facebook just recently today, and she's saying, "Oh, you look wonderful for 75," and I put the comment, "Let's stop emphasizing age and just do what you do, because I don't feel any difference at 76 now that I did at 75." It's like, if you just,
Wow.
I don't know, I think people get too caught up on the age thing. And I just think it's, you do so much that you should be wiped out, Ed, from what you did. I mean, if you weren't
Incredible.
wiped out, there'd be something wrong, I mean, come on.
Isn't Jonathan
it has nothing to
Jonathan
do
wiped
with your
out too?
age, Ed. It's to
Yeah.
do that you
know,
work
he's
so hard
younger.
before and during and after. I mean, it's a big task what you take on. It's
Thanks.
a huge task. I mean,
now,
how
now,
can you
can-
not feel exhausted?
do any of you subscribe to LinkedIn?
I do.
A little.
I-
Yeah.
I
Look,
haven't used it in a while though, but
go
I
on
am.
to LinkedIn tonight, and you want to see Jonathan put together a whole thing on LinkedIn about. So look up Jonathan Weiner. Now,
Okay.
you're Michael Bodo and Gary, you're not at LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, but I don't go there often. But yeah.
I
I
don't
don't
go there that
either,
often,
yeah.
but I can.
Go
I can
take
But
a
you
look
can still
at
check
Jonathan
it, though.
Weiner. And Gary,
Yeah.
you can get on yourself. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it yet. I can read it to you because he just told me it's on. And
All right. Well, I will look at it. I have my password for it and everything, so I could go on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I could
yeah,
go
so
on.
I don't think you don't even need a password just to get on. Just get on it, and I don't think you have to sign in. But
Oh,
you
okay.
can put up Jonathan Weiner.
I
and he
will
put
put
something.
Jonathan Weiner under there. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Great.
sounds good.
Excellent. So you want to go back to the Torah?
All right.
Yeah.
I'll start. I'm going to
Yeah.
start, but
Okay,
I don't
Ruth.
want to read the whole thing. I'll.
Well, let me start then, Ruth, and you give
Okay,
you a
good.
break.
Good.
Now, is that 6:2 is what I'm looking at?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay,
That's
I'm
where we're
just gonna-
starting.
God spoke to Moses and said to him, I am the Eternal. I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as El Shaddai, but I did not make myself known to them by my name Adonai. It's interesting. I also established my covenant with them to give them the land of Canaan and the land in which they lived as sojourners. Have now heard the moaning of the Israelites because the Egyptians are holding them in bondage, and I have remembered my covenant. Say, therefore, to the Israelite people, I am the Eternal. I will free you from the labors of the Egyptians and deliver you from bondage. I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and through extraordinary chastisements. And I will take you to be my people, and I will be your God, and you shall know that I, the Eternal, am your God, who freed you from the labors of the Egyptians. I will bring you into the land which I swore to give to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and I will give it to you for a possession. I am the Eternal. But when Moses told this to the Israelites, they would not listen to Moses, their spirits crushed by cruel bondage. The Eternal the Eternal One spoke to Moses, saying, Go and tell Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to let the Israelites depart from this land. But Moses appealed to the Eternal, saying, The Israelites would not listen to me. How then should Pharaoh heed me, who gets tongue-tied? So the Eternal spoke to both Moses and Aaron in regard to the Israelites and Pharaoh, king of Egypt, instructing them to deliver the Israelites from the land of Egypt. The following are the heads of their respective clans: the sons of Reuben, Israel's firstborn, Enoch and Paluk, Hezrah and Carmali, and whatever. These are the families of the Levites by their lineage. Amram took a wife to his father's sister's Jochebed. Keep going.
Keep going.
He's
We
not
can
going to
go.
read every name.
These are the heads of the ancestral houses of the Levites by their families. And it is the same Aaron and Moses to whom the Eternal One said, Bring forth the Israelites from the land of Egypt, troop by troop. It was they who spoke to the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, to free the Israelites from the Egyptians. These are the same Moses and Aaron. For when the Eternal spoke to Moses in the land of Egypt, and the Eternal One said to Moses, I am the Eternal. Speak to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, all that I will tell you. Moses appealed to the Eternal, saying, See, I get tongue-tied. How then should Pharaoh heed me? If you had to read all the names of those people, you'd be tongue-tied too, Moses. The Eternal replied to Moses, See, I place you in the role of God to Pharaoh and your brother Aaron as your prophet. You shall repeat all that I command you, and your brother Aaron shall speak to Pharaoh to let the Israelites depart from his land. But I will harden Pharaoh's. This is interesting. But I will harden Pharaoh's heart, that I may multiply my signs and the marvels in the land of Egypt. When Pharaoh does not heed you, I will lay my hand upon Egypt and deliver my ranks, my people, the Israelites, from the land of Egypt with extraordinary chastisements. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Eternal when I stretch out my hand over Egypt and bring out the Israelites from the midst. Isn't that interesting? He says,
Yes.
I'm going to turn the Pharaoh's heart because I really want to really whack this country. I mean,
You know what's I was gonna say, Dr. Ed, that's what's great about it, because God tells Moses he has to go to Pharaoh and tell him to let the people go. But God tells Moses right out, but I'm gonna harden Pharaoh's heart so he's not gonna let him go.
Yeah.
this is like Muhammad Ali and rope-a-dope. Really, this is interesting. Now,
Hang on. Sorry, I think I messed up.
Yeah, you went ahead.
I went ahead. But did you see that God says to? Oh wow, I'm way ahead. What did I do?
Yeah, I don't know what you did.
I don't know. God says to Moses, "I will put you in the role of God." Did you see that when he said that? I was like, "Wow!"
I noticed that too. That was really interesting. It's almost like, I'm going to show you what God's like.
That's right. That's right.
I'm
Okay,
down
now
by.
I'm back.
I was down by. I don't know where 6.
Yeah, 4. Yeah, yeah. That's right. 5. Yeah, you're at 5. I think.
But I'm going to go back. When Pharaoh does not heed you, I will lay up my hand upon Egypt and deliver my ranks, my people, the Israelites, from the land of Egypt with extraordinary chastisements. Wow. And the
Yeah.
Egyptians shall know that I am the Eternal when I stretch out my hand over Egypt and bring out the Israelites from their midst. This Moses and Aaron did as the Eternal commanded them, like they couldn't do it. So they did. Moses was 80 years old and Aaron 83 when they made their demand on Pharaoh. And
Gosh, I didn't know that Aaron was older. For some reason, I never got that Aaron was older than Moses. I always thought it was Aaron was younger. Interesting.
Hey, Monique has joined us too. Hey, Monique, how are
Hi,
you?
Monique.
Monique.
Hi,
Hello.
Monique.
Hello.
All right.
the Eternal One said to Moses and Aaron, when the Pharaoh speaks to you and says, produce your marvel, you shall say to Aaron, take your rod and cast it down before Pharaoh. It shall turn into a serpent. So Moses and Aaron came before Pharaoh and did just as the Eternal had commanded. Aaron cast down his rod in the presence of Pharaoh and his couriers, and it turned into a serpent. Then Pharaoh, for his part, summoned the sages and the sorcerers and the Egyptian magic priests in turn, did the same with their spells. Each cast down his rod, and they turned into serpents. But Aaron's rod swallowed their rods. Yet Pharaoh's heart stiffened, and he did not heed them, as the Eternal had said. This is my favorite part, when they eat them. And the Eternal One said to Moses, Pharaoh is stubborn. He refuses to let the people go. Go to Pharaoh in the morning, and he's coming out to the water, and station yourself before him at the edge of the Nile, taking with your rod that turned into a snake, and say to him, the Eternal, the God of the Hebrews, sent me to you to say, let my people go that they may worship me in the wilderness. But you have paid no heed unto now. Thus the Eternal, by this you shall know that I am the Eternal. See, I shall strike the water in the Nile with the rod that is in my hand, and it will turn into blood. Fish in the Nile will die. The Nile will stink, so the Egyptians will find it impossible to drink the water of the Nile. And the Eternal One said to Moses, say to Aaron, take your rod and hold out your arm over the waters of Egypt, its rivers, its canals, its ponds, all the bodies of water, and they turn to blood. There shall be blood throughout the land of Egypt, even in vessels of wood and stone. Moses and Aaron did just as the Eternal commanded. He lifted up the rod and struck the water in the Nile in the sign of Pharaoh and his couriers, and all the water in the Nile turned into blood. And the fish in the Nile died. The Nile stank so that the Egyptians could not drink water from the Nile, and there was blood throughout the land of Egypt. But the Egyptians' magic priests did the same with their spells. Pharaoh's heart stiffened, and he did not heed them, as the Eternal had spoken. Pharaoh turned and went into his place, paying no regard even to this. And the Egyptians had to dig around the Nile for drinking water, because they could not drink the water of the Nile. You know which one that's called? Dam. Dam.
Yeah.
The next. When the 7 days had passed, the Eternal struck to the Nile. The Eternal One said to Moses, go to Pharaoh and say to him, thus says the Eternal, let my people go and they may worship me. If you refuse to let them go, then I will plague your whole community with country with frogs. The Nile shall swarm with frogs, Svardeya, and they shall come up and enter your palace, your bedchamber, and your bed, the houses of your couriers and your people, and your ovens and your kneading bowls. The frogs shall come up onto you and on your people and all of your couriers.
Ribbit.
I gotta tell you, if nothing else, God is pretty he's pretty novel, blood and say.
So dramatic.
Yeah,
and the Eternal One said to Moses, say to Aaron, hold out your hand with the rod over the rivers and canals and the ponds, and bring up the frogs onto the land. Aaron held out his arm over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. But the magician priests did the same with their spells and brought frogs upon the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh summoned Moses and said, plead with the and said, plead with the Eternal to remove the frogs from me and my people. I will let the people go to sacrifice to the Eternal. And Moses said to Pharaoh, you may have this triumph over me. For what time shall I plead in behalf of you and your couriers and your people that the frogs be cut off from you and your houses to remain only in the Nile? For tomorrow, he replied, and Moses said, as you say, that you may know that there is none like the Eternal our God. The frogs shall retreat from you and your courtiers, and your people. They shall remain only in the Nile. Then Moses and Aaron left Pharaoh's presence, and Moses cried out to the Eternal in the matter of the frogs which had been inflicted upon Pharaoh. And the Eternal did as Moses asked. The frogs died out in their houses and the courtyards and the fields, and they plied them up in heaps till the land stank. But when Pharaoh saw that this was relief, he became stubborn, and he would not heed them as the Eternal had spoken. Then the Eternal one said to Moses, they should make a holiday out of this. Then the Eternal said to Moses, say to Aaron, hold out your rod and strike the dust of the earth, and it shall turn into lice throughout the land of Egypt. And they did so. Aaron held out his arm with the rod and struck the dust of the earth, and the vermin came upon human and beast. All the dust of the earth turned to lice throughout the land of Egypt. The magic prince did the like with their spells to produce lice, but they could not. The vermin remained upon the human and beast. And the magician priest said to Pharaoh, this is the finger of God. But Pharaoh's heart stiffened, and he would not heed them, as the Eternal had spoken. And the Eternal one said to Moses, early in the morning, present yourself to Pharaoh as he is coming out to the water, and say to him, thus says the Eternal, let my people go that they may worship me. For if you do not let my people go, I will let loose swarms of insects against you and your courtiers and your people and your houses, the houses of the Egyptians, and the very ground they stand on shall be filled with swarms of insects. But on that day I will set apart the region of Goshen where my people dwell, so no swarms of insects shall be there, that you may know that I, the Eternal, in the midst of the land, and I will make a distinction between my people and your people. Tomorrow this sign shall come to pass. And the Eternal did so. Heavy swarms of insects invaded Pharaoh's palace and the houses of his courtiers throughout the country of Egypt, the land ruined because of the swarms of insects. Then Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, go and sacrifice to your God within the land. But Moses replied, it would not be right for me to do this, for what we sacrifice to the Eternal, our God, is untouchable to the Egyptians. If we sacrifice that which is untouchable to the Egyptians before their very eyes, will they not stone us? So we must go a distance of 3 days into the wilderness and sacrifice to the Eternal as our God may command us. Pharaoh said, I will let you go sacrifice to the Eternal your God in the wilderness, but do not go very far. Plead them for me. And Moses said, when I leave your presence, I will plead with the Eternal that the swarms of insects depart tomorrow from Pharaoh and his courtiers and his people. But let not Pharaoh again act deceitfully, not letting the people go to sacrifice to the Eternal. So Moses left Pharaoh's presence and pleaded with the Eternal, and the Eternal did as Moses asked, removing the swarms of insects from Pharaoh, from his courtiers, and from his people. Not one remained. But Pharaoh became stubborn at this time also, and would not let this people go. Hey, Pharaoh, you're getting kind of stinky. The Eternal one said to Moses, go to Pharaoh and say to him, thus says the Eternal, the God of the Hebrews, let my people go to worship me. For if you refuse to let them go and continue to hold them, then the hand of the Eternal will strike your livestock in the fields, the horses, the asses, the camels, the cattle, and the sheep with a very severe pestilence. But the Eternal will make a distinction between the livestock of Israel and the livestock of the Egyptians, so that nothing shall die of all that belongs to the Israelites. The Eternal fix the time tomorrow. The Eternal will do this thing in the land. And the Eternal did so the next day. All the livestock of the Egyptians died, but of the livestock of the Israels, not a beast died. The Pharaoh inquired. He found not a head of the livestock of Israel had died. Yet Pharaoh remained stubborn, and he would not let the people go. Then the Eternal said to Moses, each of you take handfuls of soot from the kiln and let Moses throw it into the sky in the sight of Pharaoh. It shall become a fine dust all over the land of Egypt, and inflammation breaking out in boils on human and beast throughout the land of Egypt. So they took soot from the kiln and appeared before the Pharaoh. Moses threw it toward the sky, and it caused inflammation breaking out in boils on human and beast. The magician priests were unable to confront Moses because of the inflammation, for the inflammation afflicted the magician priests as well as all the other Egyptians. But the Eternal stiffened his heart of Pharaoh. And read this. But the Eternal stiffened the heart of Pharaoh, and he would not heed them, just as the Eternal told Moses. So, hey, what we're seeing here is Pharaoh's getting ready to say, okay. And he says, yeah, I'm going to make him say no because I really want to whack him more.
Right.
I never realized this.
Yeah.
Then the Eternal said to Moses, early in the morning, present yourself to Pharaoh and say to him, thus says the Eternal, the God of the Hebrews, let my people go to worship me. But this time I sent all my plagues upon your person and your courtiers and you and your people in the order that you may not know that there is none like me in all the world. If I could have stretched forth my hand and stricken you and your people with pestilence, and you would not have been effaced from the earth. Nevertheless, I have spared you for this purpose, in order to show you my power, and in your order that my fame may be resounding throughout the world. Yet continue to thwart my people, and do not let them go. This time tomorrow, I will rain down a heavy hail, such not have been in Egypt from day it was founded until now. Therefore, order your livestock and everything you have in the open brought into shelter. Every human and beast that is found outside, not having been brought indoors, shall perish when the hail comes down upon them. Those among Pharaoh's courtiers who feared the Eternal's word brought their slaves and livestock indoors. But those who paid no regard to the word of the Eternal left their slaves and their livestock in the open. You could see that some of the people are getting nervous. Hey, this guy means business. This God means business. The Eternal said to Moses, hold out your arm to the sky, that the hail may fall on the land of Egypt, upon human and beast, and all the grasses in the fields in the land of Egypt. So Moses held out his rod to the sky, and the Eternal said, thunder and hail and fire stream down the ground. Now, I'm going to go over this again. And the Eternal sent thunder and hail, didn't realize, and thunder and hail and fire streamed down to the ground as the Eternal rained down hail on the land of Egypt. The hail was very heavy, fire flashing in the midst of the hail, such as had not fallen in the land of Egypt since it had become a nation. Out the land of Egypt had hail struck down all that were in the open, both human and beast. The hail also struck down all of the grasses of the field and shattered all the trees of the field. Only in the region of Goshen were the Israelites, where there was no hail. Thereupon Pharaoh sent for Moses and Aaron and said to them, I stand guilty this time. The Eternal's in the right, and I and my people are in the wrong. Plead with the Eternal that there may be an end of God's thunder and of hail. I will let you go. You need stay no longer. Moses said to him, as I
I've heard
go
that
out.
one before.
Yeah, Moses said to him, as I go out of the city, I shall spread out my hands to the Eternal. The thunder will cease and the hail will fall no more. So they know that the earth is in the Eternal's. But I know that you and your courtiers do not yet fear the Eternal God. Now the flax and the barley were ruined, for the barley was in the ear and the flax was in bud. But the wheat and the emmer were not hurt, for they ripen late. I don't know what emmer is. Anyone know what emmer is?
I
No.
don't know. We'll have to look it up later.
Yeah, leaving Pharaoh, Moses went outside the city and spread out the hands of the Eternal. The thunder and the hail ceased. No rain came pouring down upon the earth. But when Pharaoh saw that the rain and the hail and the thunder ceased, he became stubborn again and referred to his guilty ways as he did his courtiers. So Pharaoh's heart stiffened, and he would not let the Israelites go, just as the Eternal had foretold through Moses.
Wow. Wow.
Woohoo.
Dr. Ed, you did it all.
That's-
You did the,
Oh,
there it
we're
is.
not, we had to end here. We didn't even get to go through the darkness yet, and
Nope.
the killing of the firstborn. I
Oh,
was waiting for.
it says the emmer is a kind of wheat.
There it is. Yeah,
Oh,
that's right.
thank you.
Yeah, Monique got it. Yeah.
Thank you. You're very knowledgeable, Monique.
I just read it.
Oh,
February through March, emmer of kind of wheat.
You know, we're done now. This is like,
This is it. Yeah.
wait,
So
this is
come
like
back
to be
next week.
continued.
Come back next week to find out what happens to Pharaoh.
Is this the end for Pharaoh and the
Finally
Egyptians?
stopped to stiffen Pharaoh's
listen.
heart.
but listen,
Will Pharaoh let the people of Israel go?
But I didn't realize that it was all orchestrated by God. That he said, you know, I'm going to whack him. I'm going to really hurt him bad. You know what I'm going to say? Then I'm going to say, yeah, you didn't do enough. You know, forget
Yeah.
it. And then I'm going to whack him again. I'm going to say, hey, you know, I'm going to change his mind again.
Well, the
You know,
reason
this-
why he kept on changing his mind is because he would ask for these things to stop, and when it stopped, he said, "Oh, good, it stopped, so I don't have to." You know, that's a human being type of behavior. That, oh, I promise you, if you stop this, I'll be good. But then, you know that kids do that all the time. That, you know, if you do this, and then they still get naughty. So that's how I look at. That's how I look at. No, I really do. I look at the Pharaoh like, oh, he stopped the frogs. He stopped the, you know, the locusts and everything. So then he felt like, oh, this is not going to happen again. So he thought he thought he won. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That's how I looked at it.
But God wanted to establish God's power throughout the world.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
My
You
power.
You
had
know,
to have all
and not
these
only that,
examples.
but when it's not just that Pharaoh would let the people go, after the final plague, the killing, you know, Pharaoh demanded that they get the hell out right away, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once his
That's
son,
why we still
once
eat
his son
matzah,
was-
you know?
once his son died, that was it. You know.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was
it.
it.
Yeah.
Because you could see with that God only hurt the certain crops, right? So they had the other crops. Okay, we have the other crops. We can manage with these
Yeah.
crops, you know. So interesting stuff. Oh man, Dr. Ed, you took the whole thing. You got it all down. It was unbelievable.
Yay.
You served 900 people and came and read the Torah.
Fire and
Yeah,
brimstone, baby.
early.
And the drama was
Dr. Ed,
fantastic.
how did things go on Christmas Day?
Well, Michael, Gary, who had played a major part, can tell us we fed 1,100 people.
1100.
Oh my God,
It was
that's so much. I thought it
unbelievable.
was 700. It was 1,100. Oh my,
1100.
that's
Wow.
a lot.
It's incredible.
That is
That's
incredible.
fabulous. Oh my
And we got a
gosh.
complaint, Michael.
What
It's
happened?
always a complaint.
What happened now?
One woman called and scolded us. We gave them too much food.
Oh,
That's
Oh my
great.
gosh.
That's
That should
great.
be a worse problem, right?
Right,
Oh my
exactly.
God. That's funny.
And one of them said, there was a tremendous amount of food, but the meat was a little well done, which we did on purpose. Made
Yeah.
it well done. So she says, I'm 90 years old and I had a tough time chewing it. And I texted back to those are the only two complaints. I texted back to Brian and tell her to put her teeth in.
Whoa.
Let me
That's a
tell you,
tough one.
Ruth, the food was cooked by Michael Levine from Rockefellers. If you know Michael,
wow.
one of the triplets.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was magnificent.
That's
Magnificent.
wonderful.
Yeah, an incredible
That's great.
job. It just, I
I
mean,
was there
That's
from
fabulous.
1:30 until 3:30. We were there
That's
14
one of the
hours.
reasons why I wouldn't have done it, because I'm no good. I'm not a late night person. I would have done early morning, but I can't do
No,
late
no, no,
night.
no. 1:30 in the morning till
That-
3:30 in
Well,
the
that's
afternoon.
what I'm saying. I
Wow.
couldn't do that. I'm not a early morning, late night for,
Well,
like I'm saying, I can't do that. Yeah.
well, next year we're going to need an extra shift, and that is for cleanup because we were done at 2, and we started to clean at 1. We weren't done till 3:30.
My gosh. Wow. Yeah.
Anyway, it was good.
Very nice.
It was good.
Congrats, Dr. Ed.
Fabulous. What you've done
I
to so many.
only
Just think of all these people you affected. That's fabulous.
I didn't
really.
affect them. We all affected them.
Yeah, that's really wonderful.
Harry Gillette, Michael Bodo played a very, very major role, as did the other 100 volunteers. We had
That's
40
nice.
drivers.
Wow.
And I sent a number of people who called. I called them up Christmas Eve and told them not to come.
I know you told me because they were too old and they,
And there's nobody that ever could coordinate the drivers the way Bryna does.
Unbelievable.
Nobody.
that was great.
Nobody could come
You're
anywhere.
talking about
What
Brian,
she
our
does,
president, right?
yes.
Oh,
She is
wonderful.
The leadership
unbelievable.
he has shown in this. Unbelievable.
That's terrific.
And
That's great. That's
and
great.
you know what she did? She got a call at 3:00 that somebody didn't get their meal. And we know why now, because they were in a locked area. But she and her family on their way home stopped and dropped them off food.
Wow, wasn't that wonderful?
We
That's
did
so
not-
nice.
950 people. We didn't miss one individual. We gave them too much food. What was the complaint? And the food was too good.
It is a massive, massive operation.
It really
is a
It's
massive-
just so
Well, I do know every
unbelievable.
year you do quite a job. You do.
Oh, man.
But you know, one of the many highlights of the day, we had a Jewish Nouveau service, and that was incredible. And
What do you mean?
Gary
a new-
played, and we sang Jewish
Shabbat.
Oh,
songs.
right. You told me that. Right.
A little tiny Shabbat service.
And then we had Saturday when I came back, when I did the service, at 9:30, we had 15 people,
Yeah, we had a lot of
including
people this-
Dr.
this-
Mike was on from Florida, Joyce.
Yeah, we had quite a few people for our regular Shabbat.
Sarah's
Christmas on
nephew, Stuart,
Christmas.
is-
It was very nice.
Gary
yeah.
was up
Yeah.
all night. Mike Bodo had been up all night. Both of them all night.
I was there from 2:30 till a little after 7. Annie was there till what time? Annie was there till
That's
11.
terrific. That's
She
terrific.
came
gotta
around
tell you,
2:30.
This was the most positive, the most terrific, and the most spiritual experience I've had in all of the years we did. All of
That's
the years
wonderful.
I've done.
I wanted to ask you, Ed. I was there many years ago when it was at the church. Where is it now? Where do you?
The high school.
Oh, the high
Malden.
school. Oh, Malden High School. Okay.
with a tremendous. We could never cook 1,100 meals at church.
At
Never.
the church, right?
Oh,
right.
my
It was a
God, no.
blessing that we got thrown out of there.
Oh, that's good.
Didn't
Anyone lives in Malden, I know you, Gary. The
Yep.
mayor was wonderful. Let me
He
tell
was
you,
delivering, right? He was out there delivering. You
I
saw
had a
him on TV.
problem the beginning of the week with that they wouldn't let the school personnel do some staffing. And I don't know if I mentioned, I called up Gary Christensen, and Gary said, I got a problem. We need somebody from 1:30 to 6:30, and they're not letting the person do it because their management. It'll take straight time. Can you fix that? He says, sure, Ed. Clicks the phone. 10 minutes later, all set.
That's no, he's a great mayor. I do know that. Yeah. No, it is.
Gary and I are pretty close friends now. We have been over the past 4 or 5 years, have become very close friends. And he's very, very good.
No, he's a wonderful mayor. He really is. That's pretty great. You should be very proud of yourself for
It's just
putting
what
this all
we do.
together.
We
I
all
know
do
there's
it again.
lots of people involved, but you're the one who is the mastermind of this. So you
It
give
used to
yourself
be me,
credit.
now Jonathan. You got to say Jonathan really is.
Okay,
Yeah.
very nice. Well, it's good that you have a son who
Yes.
thinks like you. You did a great job as a father.
Jonathan was the one that started it. It's
He
fine.
started a lot of this, you know.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
It's great.
very nice.
I tell people to do something, and they go, "Yeah." Jonathan says, and they say, "Oh, okay." They do it.
Remember, Ed? Remember how Bev used to be like that?
Yeah, that was, I
She
don't know.
used to take control of back in
Bev?
the days.
You know, Ruth? Did you know Bev?
No, unfortunately, see, I joined the temple 2006, and I think that she died a few years before 2006.
2003.
See, so
Our
I never met her.
our
I only heard wonderful superlatives about her, and
our
everybody
sisterhood was
talked.
in shambles. Our sisterhood was in shambles.
Yeah, I heard that she was the one who put it together. I did hear that. Yeah,
In one
I
year,
heard only
boom.
wonderful things about her.